Hi, boys and girls. Today we are going to talk about reading genres. This word that starts with a G, it's a soft G and it says a J instead of G. So this word is genres. And genres, that's a fancy word for different types of things. So we're going to talk about different types of things that you can read. And your learning goal for today is that you will know that there are all kinds of books and you'll use what you're interested in to pick books that you're going to love. So I'm going to speak with you about all the different books that are out there that are available in the library and on different resources online. And you're going to try to remember some of the names and then think about which one of those genres sound really exciting to you. And it might be different than the genres that your classmates really like or the genres that your teachers or parents really like. So let's start talking about reading genres. Most books are either fiction or nonfiction. And fiction is a story that can be make-believe or can be real, but it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Nonfiction are books that are full of facts and information. So we're going to start by talking about different kinds of fiction genres. And the first one we're going to talk about is realistic fiction. And boys and girls, this is a story that's not real, but the story could happen. So maybe it's a story called A Summer to Remember. And it's a story about this summer that we all just had that was one to remember and very different from any other summer. Maybe it's a story about a boy and his baseball game. That could really happen. Or a girl and her art club. Or a girl and her softball game. So these are all stories that could actually happen, but so they are considered realistic fiction. The next genre is called historical fiction. And this is a made-up story that takes place in the past. If you've ever read Jack and Annie's Magic Treehouse books, they travel back in time and things that actually happened in history happen to them. And they experience that. So it's based on history, facts that actually happened, but the story is made up. The characters that are in it are pretend. Another kind of fiction is called science fiction. And this is a fantasy story that has science in it, and it usually takes place in the future. And it has some things that we would not be familiar with, maybe aliens or spacecraft or things like that. The next type of fiction we're going to talk about is fantasy. And a fantasy is a story that has events that could never actually happen in real life. For example, The Wizard of Oz, a book with talking animals. So Charlotte's Web, these are fantasy stories. They could never happen. They are completely make-believe because of the events that happen in them. Another type of fiction book is a mystery book. And this is a story where the characters are trying to solve a puzzle. If you've ever read a book with Nate the Great, he is a detective, always trying to solve mysteries. And there is Encyclopedia Brown, who is another famous detective in children's stories books. And there are many, many other kinds of mystery books that are available to be read. Another type of fiction book is poetry. And these are verses that sometimes rhyme and they even let us have some feelings. They evoke some feelings and ideas. Now, also, you might have heard of a fairy tale that usually starts with once upon a time, and it has talking characters like the Three Little Pigs, or Little Red Riding Hood is also a fairy tale. This is a certain kind of fiction genre, and there are particular story elements that usually come up in these types of stories. Now we're going to talk about nonfiction stories, informational books. This is a nonfiction book that gives you facts about real things. Maybe it's a book all about baseball. Maybe it is a book all about llamas. Maybe it is a book all about recycling. There are true facts in these stories. Another type of nonfiction book is a biography. A biography is a story about someone's life that is written by someone else. So if I wrote a story all about a famous baseball player by the name of Derek Jeter, and it was written by me, that's called a biography because I'm not Derek Jeter. I'm writing a story about Derek Jeter, a book about Derek Jeter. Another kind of biography is called an autobiography. That is a story about someone's life, but it's written by the actual person. So if Derek Jeter writes a book about Derek Jeter, that is an autobiography. So boys and girls, if you grew up and one day write a book about yourself, that would be called an autobiography. So here we see an anchor chart of the different kinds of genres that we talked about today. There are